Hello everyone, this is Dragothien here, and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. A few things before I get started. First off, I have to thank and curse John Wick for reinvigorating me to go through some of these battle reports that I use for testing and trying to figure out the rage mechanics and how things work. Because one, it forced me to kind of look at things from the way that he was seeing them, and two, the things that he was saying don't always work. So painful, very painful to go through these battle reports. That's what caused me to do absolutely no content yesterday, because as soon as I thought that I had figured it out and everything was lining up, the next battle log that I looked at completely destroyed everything that we were looking at, and all the things that we thought were accurate weren't adding up on the battle report and causing things to happen as we expect. Now, there's a few things that I want to go through on this battle log to highlight and bring your attention to, and this is the start of a few videos that are coming that are gonna really make you guys think on how this stuff actually works. I think that a lot of people have lost their minds when it comes to trying to figure this stuff out, because again, the things that you think are happening inside of these rage mechanics, it's not 100% accurate. We still don't have the answer. I know that John Wick has done a lot of work on putting the numbers together and the rage compensation mechanic stuff, which there's another video I've got lined up that expands on what he's already come up with. There's more, in my opinion, based off of what I'm seeing in the battle logs, to do with rage mechanics for compensating lower health armies. And I think it has to do with the yellow and the red visuals that you see on your marches whenever you're fighting. I think there's different augmentations inside the formula that increase that 22% that John Wick has come up with, that 22 to 25% rage compensation mechanic. I think it gets even bigger if you're in yellow or red, depending on where you're at versus your opponent. In this video, we're going to be actually going through a report that doesn't make sense with the current rage mechanic knowledge that we have. And again, when we're thinking about the current rage mechanic knowledge, we're premising it on a few things that aren't exactly 100% proven out. There's a couple things that we need to understand when we're looking at this battle log. One is that we don't truly understand the base rage mechanic. Now, I know that if you have no rage generation whatsoever on talents or anything else, that you can come up with a rage mechanic of it equaling out to be around 100 rage per turn. And that's what people are using when they're putting together their calculations, because that's the closest we've come to finding a base rage mechanic. But again, based on how armies interact with each other, it may be something to the effect of there's some variations in there, a couple points of rage here and there that aren't being calculated in because there's a gap, an error gap that could possibly be there. Secondly, we're going off the premise that, again, and I never recommend doing this, and this is what really kind of restarted me down this path, taking customer service for their word of 220 rage being a cap. Just kind of taking that because that's what CS said. I would never recommend doing that. Examples of CS bringing up answers to questions that are just not true. They're just blatantly false. So we can't do that. However, I have tested that there is a rage cap mechanic of some kind, but we need to narrow down, one, what the number is, and two, when it applies, and three, what happens to the extra rage, or more importantly, if you overrage, does the entire rage that generated the overrage go away, or just the excess? Because that is a big problem that I'm facing on some of these battle logs. You can't just say, oh, our cap's 220, here's 220, and that should work, because in this battle log that I'm about to go through with you, that thought process doesn't work. Okay, so let's go through it really quick. This is the first cast of a skill. So all the turns beforehand, we generate enough rage, blah, blah, blah. This is where it activates. So that whenever the skill actually activates, that's when the rage goes to 0. Okay, it goes down to 0. So right now we're working with 0 rage from the previous turn. The skill actually casts whenever you start to generate rage again. Now on this turn, turn 27, we have a couple things happening to augment our rage. All right. So first off, we have Joan right here, Divine Revelation giving 50 rage. Gain 50 rage due to the inspiration effect from Joan's Divine Revelation skill. That's her primary skill. That's her active skill, giving 50 rage per second for 4 seconds, okay? So that's 50 rage right there. Plus we have 18 rage coming from Burning Blood and Undying Fury. Plus we have another 60 rage coming from Rejuvenate. Plus we have the actual 100 base rage mechanic, which again, I think is not exactly accurate. I think there's some plus and minus there for error, but let's just plug that into the system. So 50 plus 100 plus 18 plus 60 for Rejuvenate equals 228. That's over rage, okay? According to CS, that's over the base rage requirement. So that means we need to drop this back down to 220. Plus, next turn. Turn 28. Same thing. We have the 50 rage mechanic here. Gain 50 rage from Divine Revelation from Joan. We have another 50 rage proccing from Horn of Fury. So 50 plus 50 plus 100 for the base rage mechanic plus the 18 from Burning Blood and Undying Fury equals 218. That's 2 under the rage mechanic. So 218 plus 220 is 438. There's no other rage mechanics that are in this turn, this second turn here. You got 50. There's no Rejuvenate because it's the turn in between the second skill and the first skill. And 50 rage from Horn of Fury. That's 218, bringing us to 438. Now turn 29, same thing. We have another 50 rage coming from Joan. We have 18 rage coming from Burning Blood and Undying Fury. We have another 60 rage coming from Rejuvenate. And again, we have the 100 base rage mechanic. That brings us again to 228 rage. And again, assuming that we get 220 based off of the cap, then we will add 220. So plus 220 equals 658. Turn 30. Here's where it gets fun. So there's no more Joan mechanic, so no 50. But guess what? It's not required. We got Feral Nature proccing. So Feral Nature at 100 rage. We have the base rage mechanic at 100 rage. And we have 9 and 9 from Burning Blood and Undying Fury. That's 218. So plus 218 equals 876 rage. This is Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu has a 900 rage requirement. Plus he has a skill called Forceful Spearhead that reduces the rage of active skill cost by 50. That means this skill should be firing at rage 850. As you can see at the bottom, it does not fire. We have another turn without the skill. This one here, again, more rage being piled on. We have Horn of Fury, another Feral Nature proc here, 150 plus 18 plus the base mechanic. It doesn't matter. We have way more than what we need for the 220. So now we're talking over 1,000 on this rage, and then finally it procs out to have the Warlord's Courage be activated. So again, if we're looking at this from the base knowledge that we have of the rage mechanics, this should have fired off on this turn, turn 30, but it didn't. It didn't actually activate until turn 31, which means that there's more information that we need when it comes to how the rage mechanics work. I was winning this entire fight. This wasn't something that really needed to be rage compensation mechanic driven. This was strictly me winning the fight the whole time and getting way more rage than what I needed to try and give you guys the information you need. Reports like this are what really drive people crazy because this should have played out pretty easily. We have caps at 220 technically based on the customer service answer of you know, what's the top rage for each turn, and that's just simply not the case. This does not play out that way. If you guys have any insight into this, please throw it in the comment section below. I personally have my own theories. My personal theory right now is that it doesn't lump sum the actual rage and then apply the cap. I think that in the formula, each one of these rages are added into the rage formula. And then what happens is, as you approach that 220 cap, assuming that that's, you know, that's the cap, if one of the rages makes it go over, instead of lopping off the extra and just capping it at 220, it actually just loses the entire rage generation altogether. To me, that's what would explain this kind of report. because otherwise there's really no other explanation other than additional mechanics that we have no idea what they are, and that would be, again, kind of another nut punch for everybody when it comes to trying to figure out this this rage mechanic. You know what would be really cool is if Lilith decided, hey, let's make this really simple for everybody, and so they can stop losing their freaking minds, and we'll add the actual rage generated onto the battle report. So like, just put it right here, or right here, or right by the turn. Say this turn generated this much rage, and you can click it, and it'll tell you what rage was generated. That would be great, because right now there's no way to definitively check all these numbers. There's just no way. Even all the math, again, that John Wick did, again, kudos to him for going through all that and really kind of narrowing down some of the rage compensation stuff. But again, going off of the premise that customer service said, to me, is just not the way to go about testing this stuff. You can't rely on what they're saying. There's so many things that I've been told that were just blatantly wrong. From customer service, from basic customer service, all the way up to our contacts as sponsored content creators for Rise of Kingdoms. So there's just no way to really truly test that, or truly trust that. And again, a battle log like this really, again, brings into question, what exactly do we know about the rage mechanics in the game? If you have any other further theories, again, throw it in the comment section below. Let's test it together. Let's get everybody in the community involved and try and figure this thing out, because I've got dozens and hundreds of battle logs that I've been going through, and this is why I didn't do a video or a stream yesterday, because I was literally so engrossed in what all this stuff was doing, putting together all the content for you guys, putting together all the math for you guys, that every time I thought I had something for you guys definitively to watch and say, okay, this is the answer for this, I would look at another log and it would completely fall apart. So it just Lilith could make this so easy if they just put a rage meter on each turn and said, this is how much rage you generated because of this, this, and this, and not just listing the rage here and saying this is how much you received, but actually what applied. Would be a great little tool for Lilith to go ahead and add to the battle logs. That'd be fantastic. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope this has given you a little bit more clarity on how rage works. I have a little bit of a rebuttal to John Wick's feral nature video. I think that ultimately, while his math is very spot on and his calculation of how things work, very spot on, I disagree with his feral nature assessment. And in fact, I think feral nature is one of the best talents in the game, and I'll do a video on that to show you why. I hope you guys stay tuned for that. See you guys next time. Cheers. Have a good one.